Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks, Alex, because you look at the top 5. You have Oklahoma, Alabama, LSU, Missouri, Texas. These teams are all going to play each other. Oklahoma is going to play Missouri and Texas.
True.
Alabama is going to play LSU. And Alabama is, of course, going to play the Iron Bowl against Auburn, and with a rivalry game, and you have a very good team playing against them. These top 5 have some very difficult games ahead of them, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. Right now, I like Alabama because they have quality wins against Clemson and against Georgia, and they've looked very good in doing it. I hate to say it because it's a Nick Saban team, but they've looked very good so far.
You know, one thing especially with Alabama that I really like is you saw John Parker Wilson throw for 13 for 16, 205 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's a stellar passer rating. He only had to throw 16 times. That's a balanced like offensive attack. I mean, I like Alabama too, but I'm still putting them at 4 right now. I feel like they need to prove themselves a little bit more.
That's true.
Yeah, well, you know, what's funny is on my notes, and I kid you not, when I was making notes for this game, I knew we would broach the subject of the slime ball that is Nick Saban. And I swear to you and all my viewers that I wrote slime ball Nick Saban. But he really has stacked that Alabama program. Just 3 years ago, it wasn't making bowl games. I mean, since the Mike DeBoer era, when Michigan played Alabama in the Orange Bowl, since that time, Alabama was just not even a factor in the SEC. And now to build them up like that is really remarkable. Let's move on to the Big Ten. That's where Big Blue plays. That's where, you know, what we're most interested in. Who is the front runner in the Big Ten now with Wisconsin losing? I mean, you have the undefeated teams in the Big Ten right now. Overall, are Northwestern and Penn State. Now, I mean, we don't have to laugh about, you know, Penn State, but Northwestern, Andy, Northwestern, are the purple Wildcats gonna, you know, come shock Michigan on November 15th?
You know, I want to let them play some of their Big Ten schedule before I make my like permanent judgment.
Was Iowa not a member of the Big Ten anymore?
Iowa is. I'm sorry. I said the majority of their. Maybe I didn't say it, but I meant the majority of their Big Ten schedule.
Okay.
I mean, they've played Ohio, Southern Illinois. I'm digging deep here. Duke. Not exactly a premier schedule. I mean, we'll see how they go, how they move throughout, you know, the remaining games. But I mean, I'll take Penn State, like bar none, top team in the Big Ten right now. They beat up on Illinois, number 22 in the country at the time. So
it's really hard to disagree with that statement, Alex. But you know what? Don't count out Ohio State. You have James Laurinaitis, you have Beanie Wells when he's healthy, and he will be, and you have Terrell Pryor, who is just tearing up, given not very good defenses, but he is tearing up these defenses. He is looking very good doing it. So I wouldn't count Ohio State out of this picture. Ohio State and Penn State play each other, and that's going to be a very interesting game. I think I wouldn't count Ohio State out of this Big Ten picture, despite the loss to USC.
Right, and I mean, worth noting, USC is not in the Big Ten, and Ohio State is undefeated.
They looked
in
very
Big Ten
bad.
play.
They looked very bad.
they scored
did.
first, remember?
They did. Right.
Yeah. And then they didn't score again?
And then they didn't score again. It really was just an embarrassing game for those Ohio State Buckeyes. And let's talk about some of these games that happened last week in the Big Ten. Starting with Michigan State, Indiana. It was a 42-29 final. Michigan State did win. But, I mean, talk about potential for embarrassing, Scott. There was a play that a 98-yard touchdown pass called back. I mean, Kellen Lewis got hurt in that game. 98-yard touchdown called back for a hold in the end zone, so it ended up being a safety for Michigan State. Michigan State survived a scare in Bloomington.
Michigan State survived a scare, but I like Indiana. I think they're a pretty good team with Kellen Lewis playing quarterback. I don't think they're as bad as you might think, Alex. So Michigan State won, and it wasn't pretty, but I think it was a good team. So Michigan State, I wasn't too skeptical after that loss.
Oh, as far as Indiana and Michigan State, I mean, the end game was MSU winning by 13. I mean, I feel like that's enough. Like they've earned enough respect to be able to beat a team by 13 and, like, you know, not have everyone call it a close game.
All right, well, and quickly, guys, let's look ahead now in the Big Ten schedule. The biggest game for sure is going to be Ohio State, Wisconsin. How's it going to go down, fellas?
I mean, I really, this is two teams, you know, coming off losses. Well, you know, Ohio State, it was 2 weeks ago with USC. But, I mean, they're gonna be at each other pretty hard. I think we're going to see a hard-fought battle, but I'm picking Wisconsin to come out on top. I mean, we saw a lot out of them this week.
They are at home.
They are at home. At home, they're stellar. They have the crowd behind them, one of the best crowds in the Big Ten. Sadly, you know, not the big house doesn't keep the sound in so much, but Wisconsin Stadium does. And, I mean, we're going to see Wisconsin victory, I would say.
Camp Randall's a tough place to play, but Terrell Pryor can play football. I pick Ohio State.
Unfortunately,
Plays basketball too, actually.
He can play
he can play
basketball as well.
too. Unfortunately, both those statements are true, and he would have been looked great in maize and blue. But we have to go to commercial break. We're going to be back. We're going to talk about this upcoming game, Michigan and Illinois. It should be another great one. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Varsity Blue. We're running out of time, guys. Not even going to introduce you again. Let's get right into it. Michigan, Illinois. Let's start when Michigan has the ball, Scott. Is that Michigan offense? Illinois' defense has been pretty bad so far this year. Is the Michigan offense? What's the key for the Michigan offense? To move the ball against the Illinois defense.
I mean, Illinois is not good on the pass or the run. So really, it'd be easier to say that you can pick one or the other. But if you look at it, they gave up 241 rushing yards to Penn State. They gave up 323 passing yards to Missouri. So really, Michigan just has to continue to improve on offense. They need to try and utilize McGuffey more. They need to continue passing down the field. If they do that, I think they can score some points against Illinois, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely going to be scoring some points against Illinois. You've got to remember Penn State, and Penn State is one of the best teams in the country. Missouri as well.
Missouri.
I mean, that's what I was going with there. Definitely, they're going to put up a lot of points on anyone. I'm just going to throw that out there. But
That's true.
Okay. All right, well, now, what about when Michigan's on defense? Had problems stopping the mobile quarterbacks in the past, Andy. Is Michigan be able to stop Juice Williams, who is mistake-prone?
I'm actually pretty excited to see this because after that the Wisconsin game where the crowd was just getting into it, the defense was clearly just living on the crowd. I really think that if we can see a recreation of that type of environment in a game-time situation where it's coming down the line, we're going to see the Michigan defense step up, and I think Juice Williams is going to get shut down. They're going to live up to the hype. They're going to shut down the spread quarterback, something they've never been able to do.
No juice for you. What do you think, Scott?
Juice
what about
can
the
run,
defense?
but he can also throw the ball, especially as he's got a great target and Aurelius Ben. And Michigan's secondary has really struggled at times. Morgan Trent is questionable. Sometimes he makes some good plays, he makes some bad plays. So I think the key to Michigan playing on defense is stopping the passing game.
All right, well, quickly, guys, let's get your predictions. Also, special teams, let's not neglect. That's an important part of the game, a third of it. But Andy, Michigan, Illinois at the Big House next weekend.
All right, I'm going to look right in the camera once he gets to me, and I'm going to tell you that I made a mistake last week when I picked Wisconsin. I'm going with Michigan. Sorry, guys.
What about you, Scott?
Andy's going with Michigan. I'd love to play devil's advocate, but I'm going with Michigan too. I am very excited about this team. They just look so good in that second half. I think they can beat Illinois, and I think they can do some damage this year in the Big Ten.
All right, well, I got to make it 3, guys. I'm pretty excited about this team. I'm head over heels in love with that second half Michigan offense. Well, that's Varsity Blue for this week. I'm Alex Prasad, Scott Wagner, Andy Baeta. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for next week when hopefully we talk about a Michigan victory over the Fighting Illini.